Welcome to this week's episode of Managing Director Diaries. This week we're talking business networking. It's a massive, massive topic, but it's something we all need to do. And I'm going to try and condense it down into the next 20, 30 minutes, tell you about my experience with business networking and how it can benefit you. So I've been in business now for around 15 years. I've been a director of a company for nearly 20 years. So I know quite a lot about business, and currently my business is one of Wales's fastest growing companies. So tune in and listen for more information. Business networking it's something that's so pivotal that a lot of people don't do. And it's something we did very early on my business journey, and it's proved massive dividend in so many different ways. So a lot of people have a lot of anxiety around business networking. They don't want to do it. They don't see the point of it. But it goes back to that old saying, people buy off people, and business is about relationships, and it's about who you know in business. And that's really, really true. It's all about who you know. If you know the right people, it can massively elevate your business quicker, faster, and get to the money quicker. And that's what we're all in business for, pretty much, is to make money. So one of the business networks we got involved with nearly 20 years ago was BNI. And speaking to people over the years, a lot of people have got very mixed topics on BNI. And some people had an amazing experience, some people have had a poor experience, should we say. But I think, and I still hear that today. I did a TikTok a few weeks back, and there's quite a lot of comments about BNI, and I think you either love it or hate it. I loved it, and as a business, we are still in BNI, but I don't go anymore. Neil, our sales director, goes. But BNI is all about nurturing relationships, and that's what business is about too. It's building relationships, and it's nurturing those relationships. And what we did was we worked the room. We got to know all the members. So years ago, I was based out of the Llandudno Key chapter. So we were based at the Dianway Key. And I've met some really, really good friends through there. A lot of business associates. There's people I still do business with now that I met 20 years ago through there. And you just never know where things lead to. So I got introduced to Freemasonry through some colleagues in the chapter because I built relationships with them, and they thought I was the right sort of person to be introduced to Freemasonry. So that happened for me, and that was all down to, again, through BNI. But I remember one of the biggest jobs at the time we won through BNI, and this would have been around about 2011, is we secured a £100,000 project through BNI. And around 2011, we actually were in, I think, 5 or 6 different chapters of BNI. So we were really on board with it. We really knew it worked. And we landed a project and it was an introduction from a gentleman who runs a company who does sort of audio visual. And he was doing some work for a director of I won't say the company, but he's a director of a concert producer. So his company was producing Take That concerts, Oasis concerts. He's still a very big player in the industry now, and he was spending an awful lot of money on his house in Manchester, and we got involved, and so there was £100,000 of the project off the back of an introduction from the audiovisual guy. So that was fantastic. And over the years, it's proved, it doesn't always. Sometimes that was, fantastic that introduced us to a client and we won the business. But sometimes it's an introduction to somebody else who can then pass us the business. It's not always, in our line of work, a direct referral to the end user. It's to somebody else who can then put us in touch. So for all of you who don't know about BNI, I've mentioned the name a few times now. So BNI is called Business Networking International, and there are other business networking groups. This isn't sponsored by BNI. Just so you know, this is my my honest opinions on market, on sort of networking for business. And I've been to a lot of networking events. Trust me, I've been to an awful lot of networking events over the last 20 years. And I know I don't look that old, but it's BNI. I just found was structured, and and that was what I liked. It was structured. It was there for a purpose, and you went there for a purpose, and that's to get business. Where I found other networking events just end up being a coffee chat shop. And if that's what you want because you're lonely, that's fine. But I'm not lonely. I want more business. I'm not there to just turn up and have a coffee with somebody and then there's no outcomes from it. That's just not me. I just found with BNI there was a lot more structure around it. It was geared up to get your business, and that's what I liked, because that's why we joined, is to grow the business. And so with BNI, and what a lot of people don't like is the fact that you actually have to do something. And I think, again, some people don't like to do that, because some of the people who go to the networking events aren't the owner operators. They're maybe a member of staff for that company. So they haven't maybe got the same passion as the owner operator would. So when I was going there, I put a lot of effort in. So I was chapter director, chapter president, whatever you want to call it, for 2 or 3 times. And while I was at the Ganway Key, we were one of the top 10 chapters in the country, and I won an award and all sorts of stuff. But we grew it to one of the fastest growing chapters in the UK out of hundreds and hundreds of BNI chapters. And but it's one of those, with BNI you have to do stuff. And I think that's why a lot of people don't like it, because there's a bit of pressure on people to do stuff. And I think a lot of it comes down to the members as well. So some members are a lot more pushy than others, and you can get the wrong bunch of people. Sometimes people say it's quite cliquey, and it can be all those things. But I think if you've got the right group of people and the right environment, it's a fantastic way of growing your business and networking. I don't think there's anything better personally out there. We've done speed networking. We've done all these sorts of things before. I remember there was years ago, locally, they put on a really big sort of speed networking event, and it was great in principle. It was loads and loads of people. The downside was, there was so many people, and we had a big, giant, long table. We were sat either side from people. One side stayed where they were, the other side moved on. And it was great in principle, but it was so loud. We were all packed in because it was so busy, and everyone was talking over each other. And you had a couple of minutes to sort of chat to the other person, and it was just obviously a case of swapping business cards. But there isn't much you're going to learn about somebody in 2 minutes, and whether you actually want to work with them. I've always said, business is about relationships and nurturing relationships. It's unless you're looking for that product or service. If you're hypothetically after imminently a web designer and you meet a web designer, great. But if you've got an existing website and you may be looking for something in the future, then you're not after that service immediately. So the web designer needs to build relationships with businesses. So when it comes to a time where they do need web services, then they're going to go to them because they've got a relationship with them. So it's all about relationship building. So I think a lot of people think of networking as something they have to do, and it's a bit of a toll. It's like, I'm going to go networking. I'm going to go to this event, and that's such a bad attitude, a wrong attitude to have. You need to, embrace it. Who are you going to meet? It's almost quite an exciting proposition to who's going to be there, who I'm going to meet. Who there could help me on my business journey. But yeah, BNI is just, I'm not going to talk the whole podcast about BNI because, like I said, this isn't the BNI podcast. This isn't sponsored by BNI. It's just one of the experiences we've had with from a networking point of view, and it's worked for us. That's all I can say. And I would encourage anyone to give it a go. And if it's if you find that chapter isn't working, then go and have a look at another one, because there's different members and they all, are slightly different and quirky. So, yeah, business networking, it's a huge, huge topic. Another massive business network platform is LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you need to get on LinkedIn and start growing your community on there, because the downside that's happened with LinkedIn over the last few years, they've started to monetize it. You can get LinkedIn Premium and all these things. And I don't use that. So over the last sort of 20 years, I've been sort of building my connections up. So I've got probably 5,000-6,000 connections on LinkedIn. And what is great is you can engage, you can comment. It's a bit like Facebook for business, but the difference being it's again about building relationships. One of my pet hates, one of my worst things is people accepting a new connection off somebody, a friend request on Facebook almost, and you connect and you get an instant message and they're trying to sell you something. It's the biggest business turnoff ever. And most of the time those people will get removed straight away. And sometimes I'll actually make the effort to say, listen, you've gone about this all the wrong way. I don't just buy off someone who's just messaged me out the blue. I have no idea who you are. You could be a scammer, you could be anyone. Are you any good? I don't even know if you're any good. So I need to, for me, what I want, and this is the feedback I give these individuals, is I don't work like that. I don't buy like that. If you're interested in selling a product to me and get to know me, start engaging with my content, start liking it, sharing it, commenting, asking questions, engaging, and start actually, learning about me and taking some interest in as to whether I might be interested. Don't just cold call pitch me on a message. That is not the way to do business with me and most people on LinkedIn. It's become a real bad thing on LinkedIn now, and a lot of people are wising up to that. So what my advice is, if you are in the business of trying to grow your LinkedIn network, is engage with other people. It's send them a request, a connection request, but engage, like the post, comments, share it and ask questions and be engaging about their content. And people really appreciate that, and actually getting to know the people behind the comment, behind the actual post. It's really, really important. So that's a massive bit of advice for anyone who's using LinkedIn now. Stop sending those cold emails, those cold messages on LinkedIn, trying to pitch yourself. It's just such a business turn off, honestly. You just won't get anywhere. You certainly won't with me. And I'll probably just remove his connection. I've probably done it about 5 times this week from people who've sent a request to me. And yeah, it's awful. So definitely don't do that. Definitely don't do that. So that's one way of business networking. It's obviously you don't even have to leave your office or your home or wherever you're working from. It's a great way of networking, and I've built so many good relationships through LinkedIn. And obviously through social media in general. It's another way of networking with other business owners and business associates, but you may never get to meet because they're a different part of the country. That doesn't mean they wouldn't want to help you and help you grow your business. Another real powerful sort of business networking opportunity is associated businesses. And this is actually something I learned through Ewan from BNI, actually, and they used to call it power teams. So now you don't have to necessarily be in a BNI network or anything like this to do this trick, is create your own power team. So who does who sells to your customers but doesn't do what you do? So I'll say that again. Who sells to your customers but doesn't do what you do? So let's look at a housing developer. He's got bricklayers, electricians, plumbers. There's all those people, but they don't do what you do. So you could have a construction power group with a core trusted group of people who you recommend, and they do good work. Then they don't rip people off, and they're honourable. When I say honourable, if there's a problem, they go sort it out, and they're not going to make you look like an idiot, because that's what you got to remember is if you recommend somebody to someone, it's your reputation as well. So just bear that in mind when it comes to recommendations. So, and that's something we'll touch on again in a minute. So create your own little power team. So, it might be some of your own mates. As long as you trust them and they're not going to put you in a bad light if they don't do something, then get yourself a power team and you refer each other. Whether there's a financial incentive, that's up to you. The world revolves around money as we know it does, but it doesn't always have to be. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So you might be you have your own little power team, and of some local tradespeople, and you all recommend each other. So great way of generating more business. And the downside is you'll have some people more proactive than others, and that's the same in business networking as well. You'll just have some who are more proactive, and some people will just pass more business than others. That just naturally happens. But trust is massive. So in going back to the whole BNI analogy, when you're in BNI, when you're in a networking type of setting, and you want to sort of help other people and refer them to other people, there's an element of trust involved. If you're going to refer your best customer to somebody, you're going to have a pretty high level of trust to actually do that. So, how you build that trust is through meeting up with them, maybe outside. That's just meeting them regularly, having lots of conversations, and building that friendship with them, and seeing their work, seeing maybe some of their testimonials, and seeing if they're ethical. It takes time to build that trust up with somebody. So I might have my best customer who wants your services, but if you haven't shown me how good you are and built enough trust, I'm never going to pass that business to you, because I haven't got the trust. If I've got a mate of mine, he needs some new business cards, 50 quid, then the level of trust to pass that opportunity to somebody who I've just met is quite low. So you're always going to get, generally, especially in BNI, you tend to get like a test referral. So you'll get like a low level referral, like some business card, or that analogy, that low level. If you pass the test, great, and then it'll open you up to getting other types of business. So when it comes to business networking, trust is massive. You've got to build the trust. You've got to, be selective with who in the end, you can't build relationships with everyone to the same level. Don't get me wrong, you can be friendly and polite and get on with everyone in the room, but you can't have a deep connection with everyone in the room. So, and some people you'll just naturally get on with, some people better than others as well. And that's something you'll need to sort of realize. Not everyone will like you for whatever reason. So, sometimes don't waste your time with people who perhaps don't have the same ambitions as you or the same alignment as you in business. But yeah, definitely trust is huge when it comes to the business networking and growing your business. And that comes down to customers as well. They've got to have that trust in you. But just remember, one of the best forms of marketing is referral marketing. So if you can get more people referring you, it's the cheapest, most efficient way of getting more business. And it's something we've tried to embrace over the years within my businesses. So we have referral schemes. So every business has a referral scheme. So our customers have the opportunity to recommend us to their friends, family, neighbours. They actually get rewarded for it. But I always say, even if you're giving somebody £500 referral fee, a customer, if you did a really bad job for them, they're not going to, even for 500 quid, they're not going to recommend you, because they're not going to recommend you to their friend, family, cousin, uncle, whatever, if you did a bad job, whether there's 500 quid on the table or not. So the money is sort of irrelevant. It's just a thank you for actually going out of the way to actually make that introduction. So referral marketing is massive. Like I said, you've got the power teams aspect, or you've got incentivizing your customers, and then you've got other associated allied companies, a bit like the power teams and such, but it also could be a company similar to yours. So they could be working in the same sector. Like for us in the renewable sector, we might have a local company who specializes in heat pumps and ground source heat pumps, but they don't do solar. So not to discount people like those, because they could recommend us for solar, and then we could recommend them back for ground and air source heat pumps and things. So we've had those sorts of relationships in the past, and those could be part of your power team. But your power team could also be with accountants. We've had quite a few referrals from our accountant. We fitted solar panels for our accountant, so they know that we do what we say we're going to do. And obviously we've been customer theirs for many, many years. And you're going to listen to your accountant. If your accountant says you need to do this, it's going to save you loads of money, you're probably going to do it. If you've got the funds to do it, or if it's going to reduce your tax bill, it's probably something you're going to do. So listening to people like accountants is a good way of generating business. If you were told from a business owner to do something by the guy who comes and empties your bins, no disrespect to that guy who does that role, you're probably not going to listen to him, with no disrespect to him. So again, it comes at what level of person is actually is referring that work to, because getting the right person is so important. Because again, like I said, that analogy with the guy who comes to empty the bins, he's not going to be the best person to potentially generate referrals for some aspects. But do you know what? He might be a perfect candidate for referring other aspects of, other companies who need their bins empty. And, it depends what type of business you're looking to refer and at what level you're looking to get that referral into. So yeah, power teams, mega, mega important. Getting yourself to a good quality networking events and there's an awful lot of networking events now that copy not copy, but they have a similar strategy to the BNI network. They put some twists on it, but having a structure around it, I think, is really important, because otherwise it just becomes a coffee chat shop, and I haven't got the time for that. For me, I want something structured. Turn up, you do your thing. There's measured outcomes, and you get out what you put in, and that's massively, for me, been the case with BNI. We've got out more than we put in over the years, and we've had some really, really good introductions recently, and it does work, And like I said, I don't want to keep banging on about BNI, but it's just something that's worked for us, and that's why I'm just this podcast is about telling my story and what's worked for us as a company. And power teams has worked over the years. We've got unofficial power teams, but you can take the power teams to another level. You could meet regularly meet up regularly and have a coffee with your power team group, and actually have a little structured hours meeting, and talking about what opportunities, what jobs they're on. What job are you on at the moment? Okay, yeah. Do they need any of this? No. Okay, but I've got a customer who needs that. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, if you pass my card, yeah, great. But if you weren't in the room chatting about it, it probably would never happened. So power teams, definitely. The whole LinkedIn side is massive, but just make sure you do it the right way. Otherwise, you're going to come across roadblocks, and it's not going to work for you. The amount of posts I've put on LinkedIn complaining about people sending connection requests and then instant sales pitches. And some of them are trying to be clever, and they're trying to do it in a different way. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I've sent a connection request and then I've asked them a question, which is different. It's not a pitch. I see it as it's a slightly different approach. It's a question. It's like I might be contacting somebody in a big organization, so I might send them a connection request with a message, but that once they accept and saying, "Oh, thanks for accepting," just out of interest, who's the best person to speak to in your blah 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 organization with reference to this? We'd love to see if we could help. Something along those lines. that's a little bit different to, hi, I'm so and so. We sell this, this, and this. And I'd love to come and pitch you for, for your website. Your website's looking really bad, and we just want to, see if we can help you get up the ranks in Google or whatever. That's a very, very different salesy type message, which is just like an instant business turn off. So be careful of those. There's a few tips there. So business network, to conclude, business networking is very, very powerful if you do it right. If you do it wrong, you're going to spend an awful lot of time going to events that are not going to serve you, and you're probably not going to get much from, and you're going to get disillusioned, and then probably give up doing it. So make sure you get to the right events with the right groups, the right people, and remember, there are sometimes, I know there are in construction, there are dedicated trade events, events and networking events for certain sectors. So there's an awful lot of construction networking events and things like that. So sometimes they can be really, really pivotal. Just making sure you're going to the right event is massive. Do your homework, do your research, and yeah, you too can be benefiting from the world of business networking and grow your business. So that's it for this week's podcast on business networking, and I look forward to seeing you for the next episode of Managing Director Diaries.